So let's dive into this a bit more. What do clients want when they spend a lot of money on a home? Well, we can break down what a client wants from their project into three categories. So the first are logical goals, second is emotional goals, and the third are what I call physical goals. And these are in order of importance, with logical being the least important and physical being the most important. And it must be noted that each links to the next. So we'll start with number one, with the logical goals. And this is where pretty much 99% of every construction professional on the planet bases their marketing on. It's the least powerful goal for your clients. So basically, logical goals, as the name suggests, are the logical results a client wants from their project. And I've listed some logical goals here, so such as building permits, planning permission, save money, save time, hiring other construction professionals, processes, drawings, design, project management. These are all logical in nature and as a result are commodities. Logical goals are functional in nature, and we come back to Joe Soap and building a bigger home for his family. That's functional. The types of homes we are talking about are aspirational. No one spends $2 million just to have a bigger home. There are deeper reasons at play. If someone just wanted a bigger home, they would sell up and buy one or build an addition to one they already have. As we have already stated, high-end resi is aspirational, and therefore the clients have emotional reasons for building these homes. So what emotion is in saving money, for example? Well, there isn't any. And if someone's entire goal is the logical goal of saving money on their project, then never forget that that will apply to your fees too. These people make terrible clients. We just keep coming back to Joe Soap. Also, project process is functional and therefore logical. Do you think that a high-end resi client wakes up in the morning and says to themselves, I can't wait to get up today and give my hard-earned cash to an architect so they can sort out my building permits for me? Of course they don't, because that's not what they want. How you deliver your services is of no interest to a high-end resi client. Do you want to know how a mechanic fixes your car when you bring it to them? Of course you don't. You don't care. All you want is to be able to drive your car. So it follows that all that interests the client is the house. And this is why architects get constantly undercut by other architects or unlicensed home designers. If the reasons to hire you are all logically based, then these are the only criteria a client will judge you on. And ultimately, because they don't care about any of this stuff, then the only real criteria is price. And there's always going to be someone who will do it cheaper. So when you look at your marketing, is it all logical kind of stuff that we just mentioned? If you are marketing yourself on this level, then you are not going to get high-end residential projects or attract affluent clients. Now, you might say that lots of architects talk about this stuff and they still get high-end resi jobs. And yes, that's true. And the reason it's true is because the client didn't have a clear choice to make. Because all the architects look and promote themselves in the same way, and they all look the same. And when they don't have a clear choice to make, they will invariably talk to several architects, get them into a bidding war, have them do free design work and all that crap just to get the job. If you promote yourself based on logical stuff, then there is absolutely no distinction between you and everyone else, and it's back to being in a bloodbath. So the good news here is we have now finished level 1 of this video game, and we're now going to get into the high-end resi territory, because next up are emotional goals. Oh, just a cup of tea here. Right. Emotional goals are the underlying motivations on why someone wants to build a new high-end home and spend an absolute fortune doing so. So what are the emotional reasons and motivations that drive a client to want to undertake a project? What feelings are they looking to achieve with this project? And this is much easier to explain with an example. And we're going to look at one of the more common types of high-end resi clients, and that's a recently successful entrepreneur who, after years of struggle, his business has finally hit it big, and now he wants a home to represent that success. So what's the emotion here? Well, it's status. He wants a big fancy home to show off his wealth. He wants recognition for being successful. He wants respect and he wants acknowledgement, and the home represents all these things for him. Now, the emotional goals are a transition between the logical stuff and the physical goals we're going to talk about next. And the reason I say that is because when we promote our services, We can't say stuff like, we provide architectural services that raise your status, get you recognition from your peers, and have people kiss your butt because you're great. It's just weird, and it's weird because this isn't how people think. The entrepreneur doesn't wake up in the morning and say to himself, I want status and recognition today. I think I'll talk to an architect. That's just not the way we work. Instead, what we do is visualize a scenario that happens out here in the real world. And once that visualization becomes a reality, then that fulfills the emotional desire for us. So for example, our entrepreneur friend, he probably fantasizes about his housewarming party where he gets to show off his new house. He isn't thinking about getting status. He's thinking about the scenario he wants to create where he gets status. Does that make sense? In other words, we look to things outside of ourselves to fulfill our inner emotional desires. And most people don't even recognize the emotional desires for what they are. They are being entirely driven by these things and they're not even aware of it. That's how powerful this stuff is. I'm going to give you another example. Say you have a young kid that has a massive urge to become a success. So personal achievement is the driver here. And say that kid takes up sports and becomes, say, a sprinter and gets to train for the Olympics. Now, she doesn't get up in the morning and say to herself, I want to get some personal achievement today. That's not how we work. Instead, she gets up and visualizes a scenario out here in the real world that represents her personal achievement being achieved. And that's the whole thing she works towards. So in the case of the Olympics, the scenario would probably be her standing on the podium with a gold medal around her neck. The gold medal is the thing out here in the real world that when she gets it, she knows she has fulfilled her emotional desire for personal achievement. Now she is most likely unaware that it's personal achievement that's driving her behavior, but that's not how people think. They only think about the thing out here in the real world that represents the fulfillment of these drivers. Does this make sense? So let's get back to our entrepreneur. And he wants to build a new home that represents success, status, recognition, and all that stuff for him. These are his emotional goals for the project. But it's what he visualizes about in his head is where all the power is. And that brings us to the third and nuclear-powered level of physical goals. The physical goals for the project are the parts of the project that represent the fulfillment of the emotional goal for the client. So in our athlete's case, the physical goal for her emotional desire of personal achievement was the Olympic gold medal. So if you were to offer her something that would help her get that medal, do you think she would be interested? Well, of course she would, as it is driving her entire behavior. Our entrepreneur friend, he wants status and recognition for his success. But what is status and recognition? Well, it's how other people view him. Therefore, the things he visualizes about for his project are the parts of the project that other people will see. So does that make sense? So if you were trying to get someone like this as a client, which would be more powerful? Showing them nice photos of a bedroom with a fancy ensuite, or nice photos of a grand entrance to a property? Well, of course, the grand entrance is going to be of more interest because that's what other people will see. So what parts of the house that someone sees when they visit your home or any home? Well, they see the entrance walkway and driveway. They see the look and style of the house. Now, this is super important and something we will come back to. Front door, they'll also see the hallway. They'll see an open plan kitchen diner. They'll see a dining room if it's separate, a living room. They'll see the downstairs bathroom. They'll see a back garden, rear patio. They'll see a conservatory if there's one, a home bar, games room, entertainment room, swimming pool, and $34,000 dance floors. It's the same reason. Other people don't see the structure of a house unless it's deliberate feature. They do see the dance floor, and that's what it's for. And that's why it's worth 10 times more to the client. Is this all becoming clear to you? This is a list of the parts of the house that fulfill the emotional goal of status and recognition for our entrepreneur client. He's in his head, he is not saying, I want status. And people don't think that way. Instead, it's an internal emotional state that drives us and manifests in people's thoughts as a visualization, as a fantasy or a movie being played out where we are the hero of the movie. And in this example, it's getting status and recognition by the people we want to impress. And you can guarantee his fantasy revolves around people seeing the spaces we just listed and saying how amazing he is and congratulating him on how great it all is. So if you covered this kind of stuff in your social media marketing, do you think it would attract this type of client? Well, of course it would. And this is the content of our social media marketing efforts when we write architectural content. You don't write about all the logical architecture stuff. You write all about the physical goal kind of stuff because that's what the client really wants. And this is how you attract high-end resi clients to you to begin with. Now, if you're not sure what a high-end resi client really wants for their project, then the places other people will see is a great place to start. However, it's not always the case, and we'll look at another example now. If you look at what the highest paid professions in the world are, then it's absolutely dominated by health professionals. Here's a list from CEO World magazine, and the top 13 on this list are all in some kind of health field. It's insane. However, these professions are also hugely stressful and usually located in big cities. So a pretty popular high-end resi project is a highly paid health professional wanting to have a weekend home away from the city to unplug, unwind, and relax. So the emotional goal is to relax and recharge. The home represents health and vitality for them. Now, again, they don't get up in the morning and say to themselves, I want health and vitality and relaxation today. Instead, they get up and fantasize about living in a beautiful home, in tranquil surroundings, surrounded by nature, and that kind of thing. So, what would be the physical goals? What would be the physical goals of those emotional goals? In other words, what parts of the house fulfill the emotional goals of relaxation, health, and vitality? Well, the location is huge in this instance. It will need to be within a 2 or 3 hour drive of the city, and we're going to want to have tranquil surroundings, and where better than a lake with a surrounding forest. The side entrance would be important, as it would be both a physical and psychological borderline between their stressful work life and the tranquil weekend in their second home. So there would need to be a focus on that. The house style and look would also be super important, and again, we'll talk about this in a minute, as it applies to all high-end resi projects. The smell of the place would be important. You would want a fresh air smell of nature, not a stinky, smoggy smell of the city. So maybe a timber frame house would tick that box. Where else would be important? Well, the bedroom is going to be probably the most important room in the house. A good night's rest goes hand in hand with relaxation. A view of the lake out of the bedroom window would be huge. Maybe a balcony off the bedroom would be a great idea too. What else could be a physical goal here? A spa room or a sauna perhaps. What about an outside hot tub space or a landscaped rear garden? Once you get this granular with this approach, then it puts your marketing on crack cocaine. It becomes irresistible to anyone who meets these criteria. It also enables you to describe in great detail the visualization that is driving these people to go through all the time, expense, and hassle in building a new home. Every architect says stuff like, we will help you build your dream home. That doesn't mean anything to anyone. If you ask 100 people what dream home means, you will get back 100 different answers. However, if you say in the example we just did, we will help you create the perfect oak frame log cabin on the shores of Lake Michigan. You know, the one you've been designing and building in your mind most of your life, the one with the tree-lined entry road, and a small flower garden in the front, and that intricately detailed stained oak door, and that warm, homely smell of freshly cut timber when you walk into your home for the first time in a couple of weeks. You walk up those beautifully carved stairs into your bedroom, and you drop your bag on the floor and walk over to the window. And there you set your gaze upon the sweeping lake view. The stress of your city job and the wear and tear of the last 14 days evaporates instantly, and now you can totally relax and recharge your batteries. It's going to be a great weekend, and you just know it. So how much more powerful is that? And what if you had some really cool rendered images of the home telling this story to go with it? Would it really matter if your actual portfolio didn't have any of these in it at all? Maybe to some, but not to most, because they will never have seen an architect say this stuff before. The physical goals of this project are all physical representations, the things out here in the real world that they want in their new home that represents and symbolizes them getting away from the city for the weekend and away from their stressful work life to their weekend sanctuary lake house. So here's the thing about physical goals. Physical goals are all lifestyle based and are rooted in the real world. Physical goals are all specific, tangible, and have clarity. And when you describe it to 100 people, pretty much everyone can agree on what it means. And this is where you want to be with your social media marketing, or indeed any of your marketing, because this is the stuff that high-end Resi clients want. Your marketing needs to create the movie in the mind of your potential client that they are already having. And it doesn't matter if they don't exactly match. As long as the movie you create gives them the positive emotions they want, then you've got them. They feel that you understand them even better than they do themselves. And when someone feels you understand them, then they automatically assume you can help them. You need to remember that there is a big difference between a person who builds a new home versus someone who buys one. Building a new home is a lot more of a personal experience. And if you could show that you understand where they are coming from, then you've pretty much got them before they ever talk to you. And that's what successful social media marketing is all about. So here's the difference between struggling architects and successful architects. Struggling architects sell architectural services. They try and sell drawings, project processes, hiring builders, and all that kind of stuff. Successful architects, on the other hand, sell a future the client wants. Architectural services are only the means to getting this future. Your marketing must be entirely focused around this future that they want. In other words, everything you use to promote your services must revolve around the emotional and physical goals they want from the project. And that is how you get high-end Resi projects. And this is why you don't need fancy portfolios or websites. Some decent 3D renderings of the parts of the project that mean the most to them are usually enough to get them engaged with you and talking about their project. And this is why bigger, more established architects don't matter, because no one markets their services this way. No one is telling these kinds of people they understand them and what they want, which is why they want, which is the reason then they go to several architects and get them to fight each other for the job. You are told to state the many problems you solve and how you solve them. That's Joe Soap Resi. In high-end Resi, there is only one problem at the very start, and that is finding an architect who understands their vision from the outset. Most marketing courses are about getting a client's vision when they talk to you. This is backwards. How can you get someone's vision if they never talk to you at all? Instead, we get this granular with our marketing, so when a potential high-end Resi client sees it, they instantly say, "This is made for me." And that's how you add a zero to your fees. So, would you like to know how to do all this? Now, I did state that the external appearance is super important. In fact, it's one of the most important, if not the most important, which leads me nicely to introduce this. And I'm going to cover this next week. And here is the overall blueprint for doing this on social media. So this takes a complete stranger on social media on a series of 5 steps to landing them as a client. And the bit that we're going to discuss next week is the first phase, which is the Sir Norman Market Splice. And I've named it after Sir Norman Foster because it is modeled on how he started Foster and Partners, and he's now worth $221 million. And it's how you do all these things that we just looked at in this workshop. So for next week, I want you to answer the following questions. What type of single-family residential projects would you like to get? And think in terms of style. And what type of clients would you like to get for these projects? And I'll help you get clarity on this next week. Look, what I want you to take from this one is that you have control over all this stuff, whether you realize it or not. Plus, next week, I'll also cover another way of looking at this, because this isn't so much a topic to learn as it is a way of thinking. So I'll try and explain this from lots of different angles so you all get it and it clicks with you. Now, if you would like a shortcut on doing all this, then I have a coaching program called the High-End Resi Social Media E-Class, which is an online training with personal coaching from me, where I walk you hand in hand through the 5 steps of the blueprint so you can be up and running with getting high-end Resi projects as soon as possible. It's got all my templates and word-for-word messages, social media posts, and a bunch of stuff to get you where you want to go much faster than you will be able to on your own, as well as having my mentorship showing you how to apply it. It's an application-only program, and if you want to know more about the program, then you will need to book a no-cost, no obligation discovery call with me personally, and we can chat about it and see if we're a good fit for working together on getting you high-end Resi projects for your business. I only do 8 calls per week, so you'll need to book one now if you want one, and we can chat then. So just go to the web address on the screen and book